Chapter 211, A Tenfold Gap. The arrival of Financial Inspector Li Yuanen had no effect on the operations of the Research Institute No. 14. According to Zhao Soxui, the finances of the Research Institute No. 14 had always been normal. In any case, she was the only one who was in charge of the affairs of the Research Institute No. 14. There were not as many lousy matters as the other research institutes. Their finances could not be any more normal. The only problem was that in the past, Huang would be able to collect whatever he needed, purchase materials, or allocate funds. And Zhao Soxui just had to shout casually and Huang would be able to complete the task. Now, all the funds had to be signed by Zhao Soxui, then passed to Li Yuanen before they could complete the transaction. The efficiency was slightly slower than before, but it did not affect them much. Li Yuanen's arrival had actually affected Zhu Tui. Before this, Zhu Tui had been very comfortable in Research Institute No. 14. He would do a small research, make a fruit salad for Zhao Soxui, and study the advanced information recorded in the Research Institute No. 14 that he could understand. He would occasionally interact with Huang and take care of the chores in the Research Institute No. 14. Zhu Tui felt very comfortable staying there. It felt like he was in his own home. He could say and do whatever he wanted. However, ever since Li Yuanen had arrived, Zhu Tui had felt a sense of awkwardness. It felt as if an unfamiliar guest had suddenly come to their house and he suddenly felt uncomfortable. The uncomfortable feeling was like having a piece of meat stuck between his teeth. He wanted to get it out of his mouth. More importantly, as long as Zhu Tui went to the Research Institute No. 14, Li Yuanen would have all sorts of opportunities to approach Zhu Tui and talk to him. Especially the way she dressed. She looked different every day. But one thing was always repeated. She was dressed in a sexy outfit every day. She would approach Zhu Tui whenever she had nothing to do. Zhu Tui could not accept this. He had never been in a relationship before. He had never even held a girl's hand before. However, Li Yuanen always made him feel a little awkward. It made Zhu Tui want to learn Buddhism. It was said that learning Buddhism could calm one's mind. Under normal circumstances, having a voluptuous beauty by his side was actually a benefit. It was quite pleasing to the eye. However, the crux of the matter was that they were almost natural opponents. Zhu Tui was aware of Li Yuanen's background, but he did not know the motive of the vice chairman Lu Guangqing for sending Li Yuanen in. However, judging from her behavior over the past few days, she definitely did not have good intentions. That was because Zhu Tui could already sense that she was trying to seduce him. There were only 2 people in the entire Research Institute No. 14, and Zhu Tui was the only male creature. In a research institute where most people wore white coats. Why was Li Yuanen dressed gorgeously every day and had a voluptuous figure? It was impossible for her not to have an additional motive. If it were anyone else, Zhao Soxui would have flown into a rage even without Zhu Tui getting angry. However, Li Yuanen had a natural protective identity, and no one could touch her for the time being. That was why Zhu Tui felt very uncomfortable. To Zhu Tui, choosing a side had never been a choice. It was naturally chosen. He would definitely support Zhao Soxui. Otherwise, there must be something wrong with his brain. At 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Zhu Tui received a message from Li Yuanen just as he was about to rush to the Neurology Research Center. Zhu Tui, I have to move into the dormitory after work this afternoon. A few pieces of luggage are quite heavy. Can you come over and help me for a while? I'll personally make you some milk tea after you're done. I'm sorry, I don't have time. Zhu Tui rejected her without hesitation. Under normal circumstances, it would be fine if he rejected her. However, Li Yuanen had no intention of giving up. Zhu Tui, please help me. I've packed my luggage from my old dormitory. If I don't do well tonight, I'll have to sleep on the streets. Please. Li Yuanen sent a message. Zhu Tui was a little annoyed. This woman was troublesome. She kept delaying his cultivation. He thought about it and sent a message to Li Yuanen. Okay, the time and place. Send me the specific house number. I'll be there on time. Li Yuanen, who was in the newly organized finance office of the Research Institute No. 14, suddenly sat up straight when she received Zhu Tui's reply. Glancing at the busy figure of Zhao Soxui from the research center diagonally across the passageway, Li Yuanin suddenly smiled. Did he finally take the bait? I knew it. He's not even 19 years old. He's hot-blooded. Where did he get his composure from? In that case, I might be able to complete the vice chairman's mission earlier. Li Yuanin immediately sent the time and details over. After sending it over, she began to carefully calculate the details. She had to have special perfume, she had to be quiet, and... After carefully recalling the details, Li Yuanin fell into a daze. Although Vice Chairman Liu had only told her the specific purpose, he did not explicitly tell her to do so. However, Vice Chairman Liu had said something that Li Yuanin remembered very clearly. Young people nowadays change their boyfriends and girlfriends faster than they change their sheets. Anyway, they're all young people. It's normal for them to break up. Just treat it as changing boyfriends. None of the previous boyfriends could help me at work. Taking down Zhu Tui would at least allow me to get a quick promotion and a raise. Moreover, Zhu Tui is only 19 years old. He's 1.8 meters tall and looks very handsome. Zhu Tui smiled when he saw the message Li Yuanin sent him. Then, he turned on the personal communication device and opened another built-in app. He then started operating the app as fiercely as a tiger. It was dawn. On Saturday, there were still a lot of students coming and going from the neural reaction speed training building. Most of them had made appointments to undergo neural reaction speed training. There was already a long queue at the entrance of the reservation area. They had booked their training time a day in advance and were now queuing to enter. As for Zhu Tui, he walked straight into another research center and swiped his card to enter. Many students were extremely surprised. It was not unusual for students in school uniforms to enter the research center. Teachers at the Neurology Research Center often looked for volunteers for various experiments and training. However, students who could directly swipe their cards and enter were very rare. No matter which department's research center it was, personal identity cards could not be lent out. Identification cards and biometric identification were a complete set of security barriers. It was also the first barrier to the safety of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. Of course, no one delved into this matter. It only caused the students lining up to be surprised. Che Zan, the person who swiped his card to enter the research center just now, was he Flying Sword Warrior from your mystery branch? Zhu Tui could be considered a small celebrity in the school, especially in the freshman year. Although he was wearing a school uniform that confused the students' judgment, some students who had developed their vision recognized him. Che Zan, who was queuing, shook his head blankly. I didn't pay attention. It might be, however, there was an inexplicable bitterness at the corner of his mouth. Was the gap already so big? Previously, it was in terms of cultivation progress. Now, it was in all aspects. They made an appointment to queue here. However, Zhu Tui could directly swipe his card and enter a more advanced research center. This difference. In the Neurology Research Center, because it was Saturday, the teachers were resting normally. There was basically no one in the research center. To be precise, there was only one person, Luo Shifeng. Zhu Tui had called in advance. He had something to discuss with Luo Shifeng today. You're here. Why are you still being mysterious? Why did you have to ask me over on the weekend? Luo Shifeng was as casual as ever. Mr. Luo, I just activated the 8th reaction type genetic base point yesterday. He'll train and test it first, Zhu Tui said. You've also activated the 8th one? So fast? Luo Shifeng was dazed for a moment. Then your reaction type genetic base points are already full. Your level is about the same as mine. Then test it and see how much weaker it is compared to me. Luo Shifeng smiled. Mr. Luo, I have the same thought. Zhu Tui smiled and started training with the 24 mixed laser array launchers in Luo Shifeng's office. Zhu Tui only found out recently. The high-frequency laser matrix transmitter that was provided to the students for free tested the accuracy of the neural reaction speed. The maximum limit was 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond was the maximum value that the device could test and train. However, the numerical limit of Luo Shifeng's 24-headed mixed laser array launcher was 0.001 milliseconds. That was 1 microsecond. The maximum limit was 1,000 times that of an ordinary training device. It was a genuine scientific research equipment. Zhu Tui was using it for his daily training. About half an hour later, Zhu Tui pulled out a report card after completing 10 rounds of training. He was overjoyed when he saw it. The average reaction speed was 0.8 milliseconds. The fastest reaction speed was 0.4 milliseconds. The slowest reaction speed was 1.3 milliseconds. The increase was mainly the increase after activating the 8th genetic base point. However, Zhu Tui was happy because the slowest reaction speed had increased from 2.1 milliseconds to 1.3 milliseconds. This meant that the muscle reaction speed training he had been doing for the past week was very effective. Not bad. You've made good progress. Luo Shifeng smiled. By the way, Mr. Luo, how far is your reaction speed compared to yours? Compared to me? Luo Shifeng suddenly smiled. I won't discourage you. I am not afraid of a blow. Zhu Tui looked like he would not give up. Alright, I'll satisfy you. In terms of numbers, my average reaction speed, my fastest reaction speed, and my slowest reaction speed are 10 times or more than yours, Luo Shifeng said. 10 times or more. Zhu Tui's eyes widened. He was stunned. This gap was too big. It seemed like a blow. The two of them had activated the same number of reaction-type genetic base points. Why was the difference in their reaction speed so huge? While Zhu Tui was still in shock, Li Yuanen found and Zhao Xoxui in Research Institute number 14 of the Genetic Research Institute. She used the excuse of moving her dormitory to apply for leave in advance. Zhu Tui was going to help her move into the dormitory tonight. She had to make proper preparations.